Hi, how's it going? My name's Nick, and this is the Art Improvement Series. Or at least that's what it's going to be called until I can find a better name for it. Anyways, the purpose of this series is just to share some of the tips and tricks that I've learned along the way in my own art journey, um, with the hope that someone somewhere out there on the internet will hear this and kind of find something that helps inspire them or helps them move towards a place of improvement when it comes to doing art. And just a bit about me, I'm mostly an acrylic painter. I also do a bit of digital, kind of like the drawing that you're seeing here. And yeah, so let's just jump into it. So the topic for today is has to do with improvement, believe it or not. And it's mainly related to how we perceive improvement. More specifically, how do we overcome sort of the stagnation when it comes to how we perceive our own improvement? And this topic stems from a personal dilemma I've had for quite a few months up to the creation of this video. I sort of felt that I was stagnating in my art skill, if you will. Relative to the artists that I admire, I felt that I wasn't making as fast an improvement as I could be. And I felt that I had a really long way to go in terms of being like one of the greats. And eventually, I began to become a little frustrated with my art, and obviously, I stopped doing it as often, and that caused me to improve even less. And eventually, I just kind of reached a place where I decided to focus on other things rather than art. And I just wanted to share how I got out of this rut, and how I believe I'm on a path to being more productive with art. Um, Maybe I'm not necessarily at the level that I want to be, but I feel like I'm taking consistent strides to get there. And so, one solution that I have for this is to first fix your perception of your improvement. So, when we all want to improve in art, we usually have some sort of goal or idol that we admire. For me, it's J.C. Landecker. He is a fabulous artist that I really admire, and I'd like to emulate his style in my own work. A few months ago, I became really obsessed with becoming as close to Landecker as I possibly could in terms of his skill and his style. And in doing so, I thought by studying his work that I would become a better artist naturally. And while imitating another artist and learning from their technique is a good tool to use in your arsenal when it comes to improvement, I think once you become obsessed with becoming someone else, you lose the reason why you started art in the first place. And that's what happened to me. I kind of, art became a um, way of me becoming exactly like someone that I admired. It became a goal. And I started to lose the sort of the joy of creation, the joy of getting out in nature and studying what was around me and creating my own interpretation of it. Those were the things that I was missing when I became obsessed with this sort of product oriented mindset when it came to improvement. And so I fixed this perception by actually going back to my roots. I thought to myself why I got into art in the first place and why I enjoy doing it. And I realized that um, it was that freedom of self expression, of sitting down in front of a blank canvas and producing something um, that came from me, that came from my own emotions, that came from my own decisions on how to represent that thing on the canvas. And in the end, having a product that I was happy with. Um, but mainly, I realized it was about that process of creating the product, not so much the product itself. I found that when I fixed this perception of focusing on the process, on what I was doing, on the decisions I was making, I realized I became more fulfilled when doing art, and I was in a better headspace to improve, and not being so rigidly following this sort of ideal of another master painter. And instead of becoming Landecker, I was becoming a better version of me. And so that was sort of the general perception that I fixed, and something that I think has helped me to become more productive, to do more, and to ultimately get more practice in, which is really what improves you. And the second thing, something more practical that you can use to actually improve your art in way of the fundamentals and such, is to tackle one thing at a time. Right now, I'm working on a painting, an acrylic painting. It's of an osprey. And with this curtain painting, I initially had a very high goal of painting it in the style of Landecker. But as I've been working on this painting, I realized that I can't truly ever create something like him, because Landecker had his own experiences, his own materials, and he created, and he had a different mindset than me. And ultimately, that's why art is so unique, is because everyone brings their own skills and perceptions to the table, and that's how they express it in their style and in the creative decisions that they make. And so I realized in order to make this painting, I had to make my own decisions. Obviously, I could still be inspired by Landecker and what he had to offer, but ultimately, I was the one who was responsible for creating the painting. Anyway, kind of got off on a tangent there, but the practical solution that I found for this painting was to tackle one thing at a time when it comes to improving in the fundamentals. And the thing that I chose was color. I wanted to create a painting with very vibrant colors, and colors that kind of lead the reader or the viewer to a certain area of the painting, to create a flow in the painting, if you will. I guess this also ties into value as well, but I mainly focused on the color, using neutrals to kind of gray out areas that I didn't want the viewer to see, and also using more vibrant colors to place emphasis on certain areas. And so that's what I focused on with this painting, and it's just one thing. I tried to stay away from worrying about other things such as, form, the brush strokes, all of that. I think from now on I'm going to try on each painting focusing on one thing at a time, whether it be color, value, composition, structure, brushwork, etc. And for the painting that you're seeing in front of you right now, the digital painting of this mountain, I also try to focus on color, and just the general color and general shapes that sort of lead the reader to look at a certain portion of the painting, and also to elicit a certain emotion. So anyways, I know that kind of got rambly, and I kind of got off on a couple tangents, and I've gone a bit longer than I wanted to, but I hope you learned something from the things that I've been talking about here today. Just to wrap it up, improvement is something that's very relative. It's something that is dependent on you, and I think while it is a good tool to compare yourself to other people, I think many of us can relate to the fact that we need to kind of manage that desire to compare ourselves, and to just focus on the little improvements that we make and to be satisfied with that, because ultimately it's those little improvements that will add up over time to create something that you're more happy with. Anyways, that's it for me for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any suggestions for me, please feel free to leave a comment and leave a like or dislike. And anyways, I think that's about it. Thank you so much for listening.